Okay, we're starting the first Maimer Torah, the first page. I think it's the first time we're learning this Maimer. Yeah. Alright, so the Dibur HaMaskal of the Maimer is from Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. It's not this year, Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. Page one is a good thing. So we have a pasuk, the Haftarah says, Hashomayim Kisee, the Eibishter says that the heavens are his throne, the earth is the Eibishter's footstool. What kind of house can you build for me? Behoven, says the Alter Rebbe, Ich shaykh all of his barach loymar Kisee. How can we say about the Eibishter, a chair, a footstool? The Eibishter is not in space, not mugbul. The pasuk says, Hine mokim iti. What does Hine mokim iti mean? That the Eibishter is the place of the world, not that he needs a place where he could fit in. And his balabasaf place. Shehu mekayme shaleilam, ve'ine elu mekayme. Okay. So we'll give a little, what happens here in the Maimer. The Maimer says there's a Hashomayim and there's a Eretz. He says, you want to know what Hashomayim is? Hashomayim is Yidden. You want to know what Eretz is? Eretz is Yidden.
You get both.
Yeah. What Hashomayim is Torah. Yidden make the Torah. It's like if a guy, if you write music, musical notes on a paper, no one knows how to read it. Say, what is this? It's paper and ink. It doesn't become a song until there's somebody that knows how to do something with it. I mean, if you don't know what to do with it. What's Torah? It's parchment and ink. Oh, you meet a Jew. Oh, das is Torah. Das Alebe de Kazach. So we're the ones who, so you say, you say in the Bar Mitzvah Maimer. Hashomayim is Hashomayim, is das gate of Torah. Yeah, you chazer it over with your son. Das gate of Torah, lach is zugeglichen zu Mayim. You're preparing, you're getting ready.
I'll tell you, they put a video in the chat not long ago. My sister, she was like 8. My Zadie's standing there, my mother. And my sister is saying the Maimer, but not one peg. She is going and going and going from just listening.
Just hearing it in the house.
Basically, that's how much they were drilling into this guy's head.
So, what's Hashomayim? Hashomayim is Torah. Hashomayim, das geht auf Torah. Wachas geglichen zu Mayim. Torah is Mayim. He's going to say in the Maimer that Torah is more than Mayim. Torah is Eishen Mayim. Yidden Torah is the pirush of mitzvahs, Tayag mitzvahs. Tayag mitzvahs is the body. The Torah, that's it. Oretz, how is Oretz Yidden? Eretz is Malchus. Malchus da Atzilus is called Eretz. Malchus da Atzilus, that's like the adapter between Ein Sof and Gvul. Right? That's where, in other words, Atzilus, the whole Atzilus is Elikus completely. Biyah is already a Nivra. So there's something in the middle, the glue between, there's a parsa, but Malchus da Atzilus, when we say, and Alter Rebbe says, Nefesh in Yisrael, Cheluk Alakam Nimal Mamish Ayid is a shtik Eibishter. Shtik Eibishter. Malchus da Atzilus. Malchus da Atzilus has another name. It's called Knesses Yisrael. Right? Knesses, a gathering. That's where all the neshamas come from. Malchus da Atzilus. So it's the end of the spheres of the Eibishter. So Eretz is Yidden. Hashomayim is the Yidden. So it's the Yidden. Yeah. Now he says like this. He says Hashomayim Kisee. Kisee is Hashem's throne. Hashomayim Kisee. So what Kisee means, where you sit down. The Eibishter settles, he sits down in Torah. Right? Sitting down means it's a Yerida. In other words, I don't know the Havdil if this is the right muscle to give, but you say a person when he's at work, he's on fire. You go on vacation and you mellow. The Eibishter mellows in Torah. Torah is really
Basks.
yeah. In other words, higher than Atzilus, it's fire. Mechanisch Chaplin, right? In Torah, the Eibishter becomes that's Kisee. So Hashomayim, which is Torah, who makes the Torah? Yidden make the Torah. Without Yidden, it's nothing. It's just parchment and ink. It's nothing. Kisee, that's where the Eibishter settles. That's where the Eibishter settles. That's how Kisee. Oh.
No? Thank you. Have it ready.
Yeah. Then there's so the Eibishter settles. Says like this. Here, the way the Alter Rebbe says it in this Maimer, you know that there's like a controversy. You know, like I don't know, the Manas Friedman, the Manas and Yossi Paltiel controversy. If you're allowed to say, maybe Simon Jacobson, if you make much more, are you allowed to say that the Eibishter needs us? Right? Does he need us or doesn't need us? You can't say, you could say, right? It's a whole debate.
It's the Maimer. Remember it's the Maimer. Take a look.
Whatever says like this. Raglayim, the Yidden, the Yidden,
Right next
right? The Eibishter is Shamayim. The Eibishter is Eretz. Then there's Raglai. I'm sorry, the Yidden are Shamayim. The Yidden are Eretz. The Yidden are also Raglai. The Yidden are also Hashem's feet. The whole pasuk is all the Eibishter. What does it mean? The way he says it in this Maimer, it says, what does it say in the Gemara? It says that a child is Bra Kara Da'avua. A son is his father's sein shois, his lap. In other words, a shtik tata. Then you say Yofe koyach haben mi koyach ha'av. A child could outdo. In other words, a child, your kid could be taller than you. Can learn better learn and fadir. The kind macht besser mikoyach ha'av. Yofe koyach haben mi koyach ha'av. He says like this: Yidden are Hashem's children. Barakara da'avua. Number one, children are legs. Kara means a foot, so we're Hashem's feet. Yofe koyach haben mi koyach ha'av. We're even greater than the Eibishter. What does it mean we're greater? We could do things that the Eibishter can't do. Because a foot could take the head to where the head can't go.
In Melech Liam.
The Roish needs the feet. Without the feet, you're a cripple. So the Eibishter needs the Yidden. So now you have like this, you have Yidden in two positions. You have Yidden in Torah, and you have Yidden in mitzvahs. You have Yidden as Raglayim, and then you have Yidden as Shamayim. Yeah? So Yidden, as the Torah part is us drawing Hashem into the world. We're pulling him in, we're bringing Hashem into the world. How do we bring him in? Through Torah. Oh, the Eibishter has a shaykhus to the world, yeah? The Regel part, he says a different thing. That Maisa, doing the right thing, is the most powerful thing. The right action.
When you know you're right,
No, what he's saying is, just like what he said before,
makes sense. My wife will tell you you're wrong.
when you walk, In other words, when you walk, you're taking the head to a place where the head could not get to on its own. When you learn Torah, you could get wherever you could get to. But you can't get as far as when you do mitzvahs. When you do mitzvahs, when you activate the feet, you go farther than through learning. Learning is Ashen Azach. But you gotta live like a Jew. That's the goal.
That's the purpose.
Right.
You're
That's
fulfilling the purpose.
That's the
Otherwise,
honest
you just
I learned this recently in a different Maimer.
The Maila of Maisa, these
How
two.
mitzvahs are higher than learning.
So sometimes he says mitzvahs are higher than. There's a third part of this whole Maimer is the Indian of davening. I want to talk about it also before we go into.
How do we go back to explain in the sense where Torah created the world? We're saying the world is Torah, but is the other way of where the world was created out of Torah, so therefore, how does that come in?
When Hashem, before Hashem created the world, who did he consult with? Nishmisem Shal Tzadikim. So at the core, in other words,
they suggested the Torah, so to speak.
Right. The world.
They suggested
they are the Torah.
The Torah said, I need people.
I need a world in
Jews.
order to do.
Jews need a world.
Right. I want to come back to what you were asking me once. In other words, sometimes we say like this, that let's say when we talk about mitzvahs, sometimes we say that Hashem learned less machshavah tfisah. The Eibishter is higher than our thoughts. So thoughts, as much as you learn, whatever. But when you do what he wants, so you're doing what he wants, so you're connected to Atzmus. Right? That's the way, like the other time that we learned this Maimer, that was the way it was, that was the way the idea was presented. Right? Here he's saying that within this, Hashomayim Kisee, that through Torah, we bring Hashem to settle into the world. That's the function. And through mitzvahs, we go much farther. Mitzvahs could go farther than he speaks about davening also here. What he says about davening is that basically, when a person is overwhelmed, they cry. When a person is shocked, what does it mean, shock or crying? You can't wrap your head around it. You can't understand the Eibishter. So what could you do? You could yearn, you could cry, you could right? So when you're learning Torah, so it's about understanding. Ich darf doch verstehen. But davening is a different kind of space. So when you're learning, your access is limited. Okay, we can das verstehen, we can jetzt verstehen. But to really, right, it's like when you tell people, don't sell people a car, sell them a dream. when you're learning Torah, you're selling them a car. This is the specs, and this is this. Davening is about the dream, and the dream is much higher. So that's be'inarech. So really, it makes all of this possible. Because if you don't daven, so the Torah is not a Torah. The mitzvah is, the music is not music.
Both of them. It's hard in mitzvahs.
It's what makes everything function. Right, it's higher than mitzvahs, it's higher than Torah. So let's see a little bit.
It's the fuel.
We're not going to get that far when we learn inside, but we'll see hopefully how it fits in.
Turbo.
Yeah. So what does it mean that the heaven is Hashem's throne? Min Hashomayim, K'mesher Kasuv, Min Hashomayim Divarti. What does it mean? Torah is from heaven. In other words, it's all in Ruchnius HaInyanim. Dahainu, she bechinas Shamayim. Shamayim is Eish Umayim. And Torah is also Miyamina, Yamin is Mayim. And then there's Eish. From Hashem's right arm, fire, Das is the religion. Lamai came forth. Right? Das Lamai. The Torah, which is being called Das, our religion, was given to us. It came to us miyaminoi ish. The pasuk says, "Ushmart emes chukoisai v'asisem oisem." The way that oisam is spelled is missing an vav. Atem ksiv. Sheha'adam hua eses atayr. You make Torah. In the Chumash, it doesn't mean anything. Without a yid, it's a garnish. We also say this in davening. Anu mevachim b'birchas avos elam afton. We say like this: Lishmer v'lasos. We make the Torah, and then we're makayim the Torah. Lishmer v'lasos ulakayim. We make the Torah. Tchila lasosa. First we make it. V'achakach lakayim. How do we do that? How do we make the Torah? Al yedei av harachman rachim aleinu. The same Bilibenu Bina. That Hashem benches us with Bina. Now, I just want to say something about Bina. There'll be line here in the Maimer, Chevre, eat something. It's not, says it's like this. Bina is the way the Alter Rebbe is discussing Bina right here in the Maimer is very, very specific. Bina means that I look at a prototype or a model and I say, aha, through this I can understand that this hatifet is this gives me insight into right? Right. Maybe dover medech dover.
That's Bina's the ability to get like the energy off of looking at it, or it's the process that happens of how you unpack.
Right. So what he's saying is like this:
A equals B and B equals C. A and C equal each other.
The regular
right,
bina
is usually the process of
right. The regular bina that we talk about in Chassidus is a person has an idea. You
develop
develop the idea. You develop the idea. Oh, very good. That's bina. You know, right? Someone had an idea, we should have a car. This person developed it. Oh, now we have it. That's Bina. Here he's saying something else. True Bina is made in Dover Metech Dover. In other words, I'm going to give you an example. You come in, a person observes the Rebbe davening, and he says, whoa, if that's the case, he must be a giant in Nigla and Chassidus. So how do you know? At Gezen, in this, he saw something else. Right? So, where is he going to? He says, we are, the whole world is spheres. Everything is either, Chesed, Gvura, the whole world is spheres. But that a person should look at the spheres in the world and see the spheres the way they are in Hashem, that's Mevin Dover, Meter Dover. You're looking at A, and you're saying, aha, now through this, I can understand the whole new reality. I look at the pneumius of this, I look at the essence of this.
But you was very fast.
Okay? We're not talking about
the
we're not talking about an intuition.
The Rogachover was also there.
Yeah.
Shem bechinas rach memolyonim nimshach bina.
Like Pekarsky.
Li is bava al yoda asiyas v'yizhavus haTorah. Through this bina, there's going to become Torah. In other words, a yid is going to become a yid. When he's going to understand something about the world, he's going to become a yid. I mentioned Simchas Torah from the Shara B'Tochen, that one of the things that he says is that when you do a mitzvah, there's a way to do a mitzvah. There's doing a mitzvah with B'Tochen. What does it mean? That when a person does a mitzvah, he does it for the Eibishter, not for personal gain.
I'll give you a perfect example. If you ever pull over upstate to pick up somebody, the guy comes in your car, he stinks. It's real tough to take him where he has to go.
Yeah. Right? In other words, pure, clean from interests.
Unadulterated.
Right? It's not, oh, someone's going to know that I'm a nice guy, my kids are going to see, I'm going to feel better for the day.
Slip money in somebody's door and run away.
Right? In other words,
No, even that. It gives you a sense of good feeling. This is,
Right,
it has
in
to
other
be,
words, we
it has to
don't-
have zero benefit to you, or
we don't. It's not an all or nothing,
right.
right? Like, in other words, we're speaking now about such a high madrega. What he's saying is that people in the world, everything that they do with purpose, they want to get something from it. In other words, people do
Right,
shtusim.
No,
A guy spent an hour on his phone. You can ask him, what are you going to get from it? That's not how it works. On your phone, you don't need to get anything.
You got pleasure just from
It's like a guy sitting and watching TV. What are you getting from it?
Judging out.
That's not how it works. It's only when we talk about create. You're asking a guy, go to school. Why? Oh, just to be knowledgeable. Just to be knowledgeable. What am I going to get from it? Right? A person wants, there's more spot in that way. Right? A person wants a return. Then you come to someone and you say, I want you to spend time. This is like what, Manas is telling you. Right? He says it in a sensational way. You don't need mitzvahs. No one needs mitzvahs. In other words, you're hungry, you have to eat. Your clothes are warm, it's cold, you need a coat. There's no mitzvah that there's a physical need to do the mitzvah. To have a mezuzah on your door, to wear tzitzis, to eat kosher food. All of it. There's no mitzvahs. That's the way mitzvahs are. They are spiritual. They're not a physical need. So in our world, we're conditioned.
None?
You'll think about it. In our world, we're conditioned that everything that we do, we think about, when I say again, everything that we do, not in the realm of shtus. Right? People also sit and watch bad movies. In other words, when we're wasting time, we're wasting time. That's the Friedrich's point, the Rebbe Rashav's point in Kunter Somayim. In other words, the Freya people, they look at religious people and they say, you do such silly things, as if they never do silly things. Mitamol, they're sophisticated.
No, you dress funny. This guy's in the city.
Right. In other words, by Zay, out says Halik. No, the
best is like
the Yitzhara has no problem
15 years ago when you're like,
just wasting a month.
You have a beard. How do you have a beard?
But when you get out of bed to do something,
every
you want
guy
to
has a
return.
beard.
You're getting out of your bed to do a mitzvah, and you're going to say, I'm not doing it to get a return,
difference is
I'm doing
only
it
when
because it's the
you
Eibishter's
do it.
mitzvah. That means,
'Cause everyone else
right
is
now,
doing
I'm
it,
having
then
the
it's good,
talk.
then it's good.
I'm investing koiches just for the Eibishter. Right? So, this type of
Getting me dizzy.
right, this, it's only through, right, why am I bringing out this Nukoda now? Because what he's saying is, we want to get a person to a state of being Mekayim Torah and Mitzvahs because it's Torah and Mitzvahs. Not because that's the way he was raised, that's what he's used to, that's the way he was conditioned. To be an aware. So how does that happen? You think about it first. How am I going to live my life? And then you live it.
So you have to sort of deprogram yourself and then reprogram yourself?
That's what the teenage years are for. So that from the Hizbonenus will be Asiyas v'Yisavus HaTorah. What are you gonna think about? What are you going to think about? He says, I have a trick for you. You're going to think actually about the word Shema. The word Shema itself is Shem Ayin. Shem Ayin represents the spheres the way they are in Atzilus. In other words, the Esser spheres are in all four worlds. Right? The Esser spheres are in Asiya and Bria. But in Atzilus, there is Shem Ayin. It's just the number 70. It says, Kate, Atiyas, Beinu, Zubur, Kulukishma, Shema, Lashon, Havana. Havana Zu, what are you understanding? Teva Shema Atzma. This word. Shema is Shem Ayin. Ayin is Ayin Rabossi. Ayin, the large letter. When you look in the Sefer Torah, there are two letters in the Pasuk Shema that are large. Ayin and Dalid. I think the Shema is also large. The Shin. So you have the word aid. right? A witness, ayin dalid. Those letters are an atzilus. The shin is also an atzilus. Ayin rabasi b'chinas l'cha Hashem agdula v'agvula. Just like we said before, that space, Hashem doesn't need place to be in. He's the one who provides the space. Makim is bottled to the Eibishter. The same thing he says. Gedula, Gevura, all the midas, Hashem doesn't need Gedula. They're all his. L'cha Hashem Gedula. He has it all in his pocket. He doesn't need, I have to go to the gym to work out. He's the one who gives all the power. Zayim midas al yemus. Shehem b'chinas l'cha. Ta'aynu shehem b'teilim elov. V'nichlolim b'mekeirim. In Atzilus, the 10 spheres are completely bottled to Elikus. They're completely beligvul. And Adayin Einam the B'chinas Hamshacha v'Yispashtus Lamata. They're not impacting the world. Lias Oilin B'Shem Gedula Gvura. You can't say, I know Hashem. Why? Because he showed me his might.
So does it mean does it mean that they weren't the spheres weren't developed yet? They were still only they're only theoretical. Is that what it means?
They're too great to be mashpia and gvul. I'll just to bring out this idea right for a minute. I'm going to go to the mashal that I'm chalashing to say, and then I'll go to the other mashal. Right, let's say, in order to get into some place, some kind of club, right? You need someone to do something for you. All you need to do is to say that you know someone. You say that you know X, the door swings open, they give you the world treatment, right? The guy who you just said his name, his koyach is not here. He didn't write a check. He did Edgonish Geton, right? He didn't do anything. Oh, right?
Yeah, it's gonna cost them.
Right? Edgonish Geton.
Nothing changed on his side.
What happens in Biyah? What happens in Biyah is anything that we want to achieve. All we need to do is to say, oh, by the way, I know God. Oh, really? Okay. The door opens up. That's why we call it shame ayin. It's only shame. He doesn't have to flex. The flexing doesn't. In other words,
it has a reputation.
Right. That happens somewhere else. He says, don't start up with me. You know who my friend is? Dimitri. Right?
If you don't know somebody?
No one pays attention.
Yeah, because the person can sit in the ER for 6 hours, He gets up after an hour and says, you know who this is? All of a sudden, he's the next guy in.
Yeah. So now,
Connections, man. Yeah.
So in Atzilus, right, to understand, so that's one nakud, the one mashal. The second mashal for a minute is like this. Right, one of the Mekubalim. One of the Mekubalim, the Avodas HaKodesh, he writes that you can't say that Hashem is only powerful in Beligvul. In Gvul, he can't do tiny. It's like, right, ask somebody with big fingers, they turn a tiny screw with it, right? You go crazy, it drives you nuts, yeah? You say the Eibishter, you can ask him to do something tiny. So the Eibishter made it tzimtzum. What did the tzimtzum do? He withdrew all the Beligvul. Once the Beligvul was pulled back, what remained? The Gvul. So the tzimtzum made possible for Hashem to be mugbal. Because he hid himself, he hid all his power.
It's not filters, or is it the same thing?
Like a filter?
Is the filter the same thing, or is it something else?
It's the
Opposite of a filter.
More of a screen.
The best mashal.
In the AC system, you first have to do a vacuum before you can put in the freon.
The mashal that Chassidus brings is a mashal of, let's say you bring a genius, and you ask him to explain part of his theory to a child. So, or to a simple brain. So the simple brain can't understand the genius, but he also didn't come to schmooze with him about what the weather is. He wants to hear something, a chokhmah. So the genius has to withdraw all his genius, and he has to find some tiny fragment. So he's hiding himself.
What would you call it?
But for the simple guy, that's already.
I once, while I was doing a speech in Evergreen, he's got hour-long drasha. He's quoting every Gemara, the date, the year that I'm on, what year he's from, where he's from, and he goes, it says in the Siddur, he's like, bring me a Siddur. So I went up to him and I said, let me ask you something. For an hour straight, you're quoting with the date, the city, the guy was born, everyone's supposed to say, it's very cautious. I am lost, you know.
No, what's the gesagt?
That's what he told me. He said, Siddur,
It's too simple.
Yeah, he got lost.
Okay.
I said, you have a good point there.
I think the teleprompter
The frequency. Listen, davening. Okay.
A speaker, when you need time to reformulate, you ask someone to get a safer.
Right.
No, but if a scientist sits next to him or a marine biologist starts telling you about the what's called, you could talk to the wall.
He has nose.
Huh?
He has nose for dates and pages. I see that he does not have the nose.
So in Atzilus, it's called Shem Ayin. The Azai Nikra b'Shem Ayin Rabosi. And then he says that the Hamshocha, Shenimshach, or Mispashet, Lamato is only Shem Levad, Ha'ara Ba'amok. And Maimer, Baruch Shem Kved Machusei La'elam Vad. The Mittler Rebbe he wrote a Hanocha on this Maimer, same Maimer. And he writes, the way he writes this part, he says like this, that Torah Shebal Peh is a pirush on Torah Shebiksav. So Torah Shebiksav writes a word, Shema. And then the Chazal came and they said, oh, by the way, you know Shema? Baruch Shem Kavod Malchusei La'olam Vad is a pirush on Shema. Shem Ayin. That Shem, Baruch Shem, that it's only Hashem's name, Elam V'chin Hashem U'midas Malchusi Yizbarech, like the guy who name drops in order to get whatever he wants. Malchus Malchus Ba'olam Zel Inyan Bina. That's what Bina means. Lahavin Dover Mitoich Dover. Pirush Toich Dover Nikra B'chinas Mamalik Kol Almin. We look into our world, Mamalik Kol Almin, which is the name. I look at how people open doors when I say someone's name. I never even heard of the guy. You know, it's like I was once, this is in the days when they were Gnevis and the Kollel and here and there, whatever, tefillin were missing and this. And then one day I was by Chevy Torah, like Maimer, and a guy shows up. Yeah, he's like, I'm supposed to clean up there. I'm like, the guy's they're like, who sent you? He says, Shabbos. Who? Shabbos.
He got the biggest beating of his life.
Right? In other words,
I'll tell you the best story. The best story is it's somebody I know. No, this guy. He hears from people always about this guy. There's a guy named Tzvi Gluck. His father used to do a lot of chesed. Now he's like a guy. So this guy heard from all of his family about this guy Tzvi Gluck. So they show up in an accident. He's in an EMT, the guy, and he turns to the guy and he says to the guy, "Listen, I think we're gonna need a helicopter in this one. We're gonna need to, call into the hospital." So he's like, "Okay." He says, "Listen, I know a guy, Tzvi Gluck. He's gonna hook us up." He's like, "Really? You know him? He was Tzvi Gluck."
I think I can pun.
Erhard the Meiser, Dortmund, when he said he's going to get the mayor on the phone.
Oh, no, that was tactless. No, here just identifies that you could use someone's name, you don't even know.
You don't even know, yeah, that's right.
The guy.
So the Maven.
Very good satisfaction.
the maven davar b'tech davar, that you look at how people respond. When you say a guy's name, like, wow, this guy must be. We look at the way the Eibishter functions in Mamalik Kalam and in this world. We say, wow, what do we figure out in Atzilus? Tzarech lahavin mizeh. From this itself, she'eni elazim, she'hi is barich v'aseviv Kalam, and really is much greater. For less machshav v'chulu. V'lav mikol midas ilin klal. The Eibishter is way beyond. Al yedei zeh nimshach liyas v'yahaftas Hashem leikecha mamish. I heard a mashal from Mendel Vechter. And he says, imagine a guy comes to work. He's living in his parents' home. He doesn't need the money that he gets paid. Every week, the guy pays him cash. He doesn't want to. Pays him cash. And he works for a year, 2 years, whatever it is. Then he's going to move out. He's going to buy a house. He finds out all the cash is fake. Right? He says, we're here in Olam Hazeh collecting the fake. Right? The Eibishter, you want the real thing. The dafka bei is barach bei sa baruch mamash. Not a naziv. K'mesher kosov mili b'Hashomayim v'im chalecha fasti v'geimer. Rak sheyeh rak chefzi ritzeinei she'avaya eidin seiv baruch ha'atzmei yeh lekecha. That the Eibishter should be the driving force in your life. Simply havaya lekecha means, what am I waking up for? What do I want to do? What do I want to achieve today? What's my goal for today? If it's Gashmius, then I'm going for the fake. If I want to become closer to the Eibishter, so then my Elekecha, my Chayas is Havaya. I'm not. Yeah, you have to go to work, whatever. That's my purpose. That's what I want in the world. I mentioned to you many years ago, I was at a Molava Malka, and a guy told the story how he became a Baal Tshuva, the whole thing. And he was working at the New York Times. And then when he became a Baal Tshuva, all his liberal friends, they all stopped talking to him and whatever. And then a long time went by, and one day, some of his old, they were like, so now that you're religious, what do you say about women having a career? It's just terrible. Terrible. Say, oh, they ruined you. You see what happened? They ruined you. He's like, wait, you didn't ask me what I think about men having careers. He's like, that's Avdel Letman. That's the purpose of life. To be in a job, to climb the ladder in the New York Times. Right? In other words, that's V'ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You have to love it. Right? I was telling the kids that we spoke when you have people being Maiser Nefesh for being a Jew. There's that story with a guy that was in prison in Russia somewhere, and he was like grinding a mill. And then after he finished the sentence, he was in prison 5 years. Every day he would grind flour or whatever it is. And then when he was freed, they showed him the other side of the wall. It was empty. There was nothing there. He was just... and he had a heart attack, he died. Right? In other words, a person...
Purpose.
Yeah, right? You have people right now that are Meiser Nefesh for Yiddishkeit. And then they come here, and it's like a guy, he has an opportunity to do a mitzvah. Someone says, Kumarein at center. He's like, go bug somebody else. It's like, I can't handle it. So for us, if we show that Yiddishkeit is a priority, like it's real to us, and say, oh, yeah, this is something worth defending, it's something worth going to battle for. No.
And you have to leave this world because you don't stay for meeting. And he started to go in this little hiding place.
So that's the meaning of the Ahavta es Hashem Elokecha. You love the Eibishter, that their Eibishter becomes the reason that you're living in this world. That's Elokecha. The motivation for your life is the Eibishter. The Hainu, sheyeh gili ein seif baruch hu atzmei al nafsho. How is that? The focus of your heart. That's what I care about. Shehu k'meshe kosav im yosim elov libei ruchei v'nishmasei elov yesef. That if a person dedicates his life to the Eibishter will enter his life. Elov yesef ki ruach, I see ruach v'amshich ruach. Through our hisayrus, the Eibishter responds. Shal yidei ruach adam ha'elah l'mayla. Sheyosim elov, that a person will dedicate himself to Hashem, dahainu. Shalavav v'yichsef, he will yearn. L'davka b'yizbarech. Ulahamshich bechinas bili elukusi yizbarech al nafshei v'teich nafshei. Azai, what happens then? Ruchei v'nishmasei, the higher levels of his neshama from Seviv Kol Almin, Yesef, he'll connect to a deeper part of himself. Lias misasef hashra asei bekerev ish v'leiv amik. He'll experience life in a deeper way. Umizeh nimshach, that's what brings about that a person lives a life of Torah and mitzvahs. V'hoyu advarim ha'ele, asher anechi misha anechi mitzavcha, that you become connected with the Eibishter. Shal yidei zeh nimshach gili elikusei v'yishavas ha-Torah v'chin Hashomayim, Hashomayim. That's how Torah comes to life. Torah kadma alpayim shana la'olam. What's olam? The olam is Hashomayim. And the Torah is Gava Ma'alasa Ma'ed B'chinas Alpayim Shana. Torah is beyond Hashomayim, L'mayla B'chinas Olam. Kadei Shetimashech L'B'chinas Olam, that the Torah should become part of the world. Liyos Mimin and Eish, Ramach Mitzvah say, from Yemin, Shesam Mitzvah Me'asmoil. How does that happen? Through our Avos Hashem. Hamshach Hazu Ayidei Sarusa D'Lasata, V'yahavta B'cholavovcha, Ruach Aisi Ruach, V'amshich Ruach. When we do that, we are in the steering, we're in the driver's seat. V'dibarta could mean to speak. We're on the last line of the first comment. V'dibarta also means to steer. V'dibarta loshen hanhoga. V'hamshocha, to draw and to lead. Hashem enters the Torah. So, this is the meaning that Hashem, Shem Havaya, Hamshachas Havaya, Liyas HaTorah, in order that there should be Torah. How does that happen? Tzarech Liyas Hamshachat Chila. You have to draw. That's Moshe. Min Hamayim Mishisiu. To draw Elikus out of the water. Zeu Hashomayim Kisee. Hashomayim is Torah. Torah is the Kisee. Al derech mashal. Shenasel l'sheves. That's what you sit on. Yeshiva zu hi hashpala l'gabi amida. It's a hashpala. It's a lowering. Shekish adam eimid hinu bal koima. He's a tall fellow. Bereishis meichad gvei me'al haaretz. Ayidei yeshiva nishbal koimase. Your head is lowered. Kachat Torah nasa Kisee. Which is the Ratzin of Hashem, and the Chochmah of Hashem, and the Bina of Hashem. It settles, it becomes lower, all the levels of Chakim V'Leiba Chachmei Meim Leibi, and in Torah Yerdim, Mishtal Shulim, Chachmasi, Binas, Mvarim Gashmim, Tfilin, Tzittis, Tzedakah, Trumas, Maises, Korbanos, becomes part of the world. We have a few more minutes. We're going to finish sharp on the clock. Then there's Ha'aretz Hadaim Ragli. Hadaim, the Lashon HaPasuk is Serafraf. I don't know if it's a shin or a sin. I think it's a sin, but I hear some people say with a shin. I think from the Pasuk it's in a... Anyway, Serafraf, the Lashon HaGemara is a Kisei Katan, a small chair. Vu Mashem Ma'amid, and Dachas Ragli HaYeshev, Lagbiya Haregal Me'al Ha'aretz. That your foot should be raised. Alza Amru B'Gemara, the Pasuk says on a Pasuk, the Gemara says on a Pasuk in Daniel, Kerisa in Remoyu. They put cheers, karsun ramyu, they put cheers. Echad l'kisei, echad l'serafrif, one to sit on and one for the feet. In the Mefarshim there in Daniel, he says one cheer for this one cheer for that one. Anyway, kisei hu hagadol sheyesh v'nolok, and serafrif is a kot, shemabidim tachas araglayim. Va'inyan. In Knesset Yisrael, the Yidden are called regel. How are the Yidden called the Regel? What do you mean? Banim atam Lashem Alekechem. The Yidden are Hashem's children. Ubra kara da'avur. The Gemara says that children are the feet of the Father. The feet have qualities that the head doesn't have. In other words, Hashem is taken to where He needs to get to through us. The head needs the foot. There's another thing. The veins in the leg, and the chayis, when they draw blood from the foot, they tap the foot, and the pressure is relieved in the brain. In this aspect, the regel is called the rosh. Harosh is a regel. The head needs the foot. That's what we say by the Eibishter. How could it be? Because through through this connection of the highest and the lowest levels, Yasher is Milmaila Lamata. Kol Masha Lamaila Hua Elyon. Chazer is Milmata Lamaila Kol Masha Lamata Hua Elyon. Zel Nos Tchilosan B'Sefer. Shesefer Hu Tchilosan Shebchinas Regel Nikra Reish. The foot becomes a head.
It's about static position.
Yeah, acupuncture, from massage.
Yeah.
Right.
Because all the
In other
nerves,
words, this is
everything
like,
is right.
you think about the Baal Shem Tov stories, that the Greisa Talmud Chacham over there was corrupt through and through. And the Amoritz had such purity of heart, such a edelkeit. So what happens? The Goel is Lamato. And the Amoritz is Lamailo. The Yisrael Nikru Bereishis. Yisrael are also, they're called the foot, and they're called the head. When we do our Avodah, there becomes a tikkun in Eiris Al-Yenim. We're the cure for Eiris Al-Yenim. This is what we find by Moshe Rabbeinu. We sinned, he lost 1,000 Eiris. B'Shabbos he gets them back. Yismach Moshe Matnas Chelka. This is the Rebbe says, Lech reid migdul ascha. Klum nasati v'chabdula ela l'shro Yisrael. How did you get so tall? Because the Yidden are your feet. They were even though they were regel vada. Of course they were lower than him, but they were makif. Kach hu bekol Yisrael. Al Yedei Shemesakin Maisov, when a Yid's actions are the right actions. Shehem Bekoyach HaMaisa, Ba'asiyah Gashmius, B'Pchinas Raglayim, when we do this Mamash Ardocha protest that I learned to Sikha about this Indian. Nasa Meiche V'Libei Zakin Elef Pa'amim Kocha, literally, your heart and mind become refined 1,000 times.
You were saying about the hours of learning.
Yeah. Vehine, liyos hadoim libchinas regel, to lift up the feet. Knesset Yisrael, lagbiol ha'leisa v'mata l'mayla. It's through eretz, through mitzvahs ma'asiyos, tzedakah. That's why the pasuk says tzedakah tereimim goy. Tereimim, to lift up, is milmata l'mayla, and this halah is mibchinas goy. There are 3 letters: gimel, vav, yud. A bissel kabbaladik. Allah's hamidus, which are derech klal, there are 3 bchinas: chesed, din, rachman. They go to bchinas yud, which is chachma, and through the vav, which is mabshach, mechaber hamachshav. Kocha mamish nasa lamata b'nefesh ha'adam. Allah's hamidus b'sichli v'nasi. When a person does the right thing, his midus become elevated. She'hamidus nifrodas me'aseichel, they're over b'fnei atzma. That's why yesh l'cha adam shemis'eirer libe b'shas atfilah v'kayetzeba. During davening he's inspired. She'as v'shas meichin v'gavlus. After davening, he goes from being a saint, a saint, Kim Shnei Afochim is two opposites, because the Midis Anifradim Me'aseichim. Mashenkim Miskalulusam, when a person becomes a shtickle mensch, you can't separate. He becomes one. Hari Oz Ili Amidis B'Yeser Se'ez. That's the real place of the Midis. Shenasu P'chinis Moichin. Zel B'chon Avshecha. Chol Keichas HaNefesh. Because Regel, Ram B'chinis HaRegel, Torum V'Tagbiyah. I mentioned this before, I'll just conclude with this. One of the things that when I went to this workshop and Michal Gerber at Gedarshan, he said people are so broken. They go everything they're doing, their mind is in another place. They're doing one thing, they want to be doing something else. Right? Their hands and feet are in one place, their heart is in somewhere else, their mind is in a third place. Here, what Dr. Rebbe is saying is when a person corrects their actions,
stated the obvious.
When a person corrects their actions, it elevates their emotions to become one, that they become one.